Previously, we were studying about file and record locking. Okay. So, in that we already studied how we have to lock the file or a particular record. Okay, so there we studied as a FCNTL. Okay, so this function. Okay, so that will be used to lock the file. So this is the file descriptor and command. Okay, so these are the set of commands. So you can set the lock. Okay, or you can unlock it. So in here you have to or whoever is locked, that information also you can get it. Okay, so here set lock, this is a non-blocking. Okay, so here this is a blocking call. Okay, so here you are getting it, and this is nothing but some other type of parameters you will get it. You will send it. Okay, after this out of these three command you will use here, and then next this is the one structure you can send it, that is flock. Okay, so where you have to start it, how much size. Okay, so these all things we should already studied. Okay, so if here in the length is, if you are given as a 0, that means you are blocking the sorry, you are locking the entire file only. Okay, so these things we studied. No, okay, so it's a type of lock also we studied. Okay, read, write. Okay, so unlock. Okay, so three types. Then from where you want to start it, current position. Okay, or you want to set it the starting of the file or say end of the file. Okay, so now we'll go for uh, file promotion and splitting. Okay, so here suppose if process has a read lock, then again after some time it want to acquire a write lock. Okay, so that time what will happen is your uh, read lock will converted into write lock only, and process will got the promotion. Okay, so that locking for the locking purpose it got the promotion, so we'll say this is a lock promotion. If a process want to unlock some of the region. Okay, so already suppose if we consider as a one region it's have. Okay, so in that some middle of the some region it want to unlock it. So if middle of the region it is unlocking, so what will happen, so before that whatever locked, that is converted as a one lock, different lock, and after unlocking whatever below will be there, that is also will be converted as second lock. So in between you will be unlocking. So before that and after that, those two things will be converted as the two different locks. Okay, so this is what we'll call it as a splitting of locks. So okay, here whatever lock was acquired by a region or entire file, in that in between you're unlocking some region only. So there are some points on the locking. Okay, so for a mandatory locks can be achieved by the setting the following attributes. Okay, so if you remember here, mandatory lock is nothing but kernel is forcing to apply a lock. Okay, so in kernel part we are forcing. So one more type was there as a advisory lock. So here in mandatory lock, so you have to turn on the set GID flag of a file. Okay, so if you want to use this one, set GID file should be set GID flag should be on. Okay, and turn off the group execute write of the file. Okay, so execution permission of the group whatever will be there, so that right you have to turn off it. Okay, so these things you have to use. So here all files set by the process will unlock when the process terminates. Okay, so by default if this process it terminates, so kernel will take care of unlocking the all the files. Okay. Then, if a process locks a file and then creates a child process by a fork, the child will not inherit the lock. Okay, so child process internally it should have different lock only to use it. Okay, so if inherit whenever you are creating a child process, this will not inherit. Okay, so locking process will not inherit. Just if it is a file is open, so that open file open will be continued in child process also. That FT will be continued in child process. Okay, so now we here we'll see how this locking is happens. Okay, so how FCNTL function can be used. Okay, so here, so in main we're taking arguments. So whatever files you are giving it, so for those things, here we are checking for the fcntl function we are calling it, then we are checking it. Okay, so that is we are trying to open that file. Okay, so in read mode, so whatever how many files you will send it while executing this program, so those many times it will run it. Okay, so all arguments you are taking it, so, and you are trying to run it. So here what we are doing is first one structure, okay, f block. Okay, so for this we are creating one variable and file descriptor also, two variables are there. So this we will be sending the some parameters. Okay, so f block parameter, whatever structure we had. Okay, so this structure, for this structure some parameters we are sending it. Okay, this is the third argument. So whenever you are sending here, this is the third argument, we will use it. Okay, so then, so here, so argument minus minus we are doing it, and is it greater than 0 or not, we are checking it. So how many arguments will be there, those many times it will run it. So for each argument, that is nothing but in the each file name you given. Okay, so argument whatever you are while executing you are giving, that is nothing but a file name. So those file, for each file, so this loop open call will be executed. Okay, so here or trying to open it. Okay, so that is only read write mode. Okay, so if it is successfully opened, you will get as a minus. If it is successfully open, you will get as a 0. If it is not successfully open, it will get as a here -1. Okay, so here on successful execution, so if there is a file is there, okay, so if you are open that one, so then what we are doing is we are going to set these this structure parameters. Okay, so that is file type we are saying as a write lock we are trying to acquire. So whichever file we have opened, for that we are trying to acquire a write lock. Okay, then from where there is a set, there is a set seek set is nothing but from the starting of the file. Okay, so whichever file you have opened, start of the first byte onwards only we are going to do it. So from that, any offset is there means no, we are not giving any offset, so we are giving as a 0. Then length we are giving as 0, so length 0 means entire file we are going to lock it. So these are the parameters we have given. Now we'll try to acquire the lock. So we have to call the fcntl, then that is a file descriptor whatever we have opened, that file descriptor we are sending it. Then set lock, so we are going to set the lock. This is the parameter. Okay, this is a command out of three, this is a, to the setting. So without block we are applying it. Okay, so here we are trying to acquire the exclusive write lock. Okay, so because here we're given as a write lock. Okay, so this write lock we are going to acquire it. So and that's the parameter we are sending it. If it is successfully executed, you will get value as a 0. Okay, so if it is not successfully executed, means there is all maybe already some other process has the lock on that file. Okay, so it may be a read lock or write lock, because so whenever you are going to acquire a write lock, and if already any other process has the read or write lock, so you will not get the that lock only. So if it is a failure, so it means it will return as a -1, so it will become as a -1 equal to -1, both it will be true. Okay, so this while loop we are executing until and unless we get the lock. Okay, so if you are not got the lock, so we'll check which process got the lock. Okay, so now here this while loop okay, so inside this continuously we are checking any different processes got the that file lock or not. Okay, so maybe for one file you may have n number of different processes got the lock depending on the region. Okay, so if it is entire one shot or entire file is locked by one process, or different processes are locked by the regions wise. Okay, that will check it. So then region wise whichever processes are acquired the lock, that will display it here. Okay, so just we are displaying it, so which process got the lock. So here again we are calling the fcntl, this is file descriptor. So whichever file you have opened, then get lock. Okay, so we are getting the status. Okay, so then we are sending this parameter, and we are checking say it's not equal to -1. Okay, so it's not equal to -1, it's if it has to run successfully. Okay, and here also we are saying as a variable this type. Okay, so whatever status f lock variables, that variables type, that is a lock type should be unlock. Okay, so it should not be unlock one. Okay, so it should be locked one. Okay, so that we are checking it. If both are true, so it means already someone is locked. while loop we are checking continuously until unless we have got the get the lock. Okay, so if you are not got the lock, so then what will happen? Here we are checking which process got the lock. Okay, so again we are calling the fcntl. So we here file descriptor whichever file we have opened, and we are checking the get the lock. Okay, so it's nothing but status we are getting it, who has the lock. Okay, so then again same structure variable we are sending, so there we'll get the actual content. Okay, so here what we are doing is just we're checking the whoever got the lock. Okay, if this call returns -1 means it's a failure. Okay, so it should not have the failure that we are checking. And that whichever we have, that's a return one, there is a whatever we are calling the checking the status, that should be unlocked one. Okay, so it means whichever file has unlock, whichever process has the unlock, that only will check it. Okay, so here now here we are going to print it. Okay, so what we are going to print is, so locked by, so who is locked by, locked, that will print it. And here just we are checking it's a unlock status only. If it is unlock status, then only will print it. So sorry, if it is not unlock status, then only will print it. If it is unlock status got the by the file any process, that will not print it. So whoever got the lock, that we are checking it, so that's why it's not equal to unlock. Okay, so here not equal to unlock means process which is locked one. Okay, so that we will print it. So here we are going to print there is a unlocked by, so that is process id we are going to print it. Then from, so which starting address in the file, so that we are going to print it. Then from there's length, so how many bytes has, there is nothing but some region it will be having. Okay, so that will print it, how much it has. And whichever it's acquired a write lock or read lock, that will check it. So here we're checking the it's a file type as a write lock or not. Okay, if it is a write lock, then we are displaying as a w. If it is a false, that is, then we are displaying as a read lock. Okay, so like this we are printing the which process got the how much byte of, how much byte of actual reason is locked, that we are printing it. Okay, so if suppose file length is 0, so file length is 0 means entire file is locked. Okay, so there is nothing but it's not 0 we are checking it. So if it is a true, so we'll break it. It means whatever processes has to we are going to see the how many locks are there, that already we have seen. So then just we are breaking it. Okay, so if it is not there, then what we are doing is just increment the length. So next time how much you have to start from where you have to start. So whatever byte you locked, then next process will be different region. So in a different region we are going to check it. Then file length will make it as a 0. Okay, so every time we are checking it. So here we are making as a 0. So after execution this one, so you will get the actual file length. So how much it is locked. If it is still is 0 means entire file is locked. If it is other than 0 means that particular region is locked. Okay, that we are going to check it. So continuously it will print like this. Okay, so it will print it. So until and unless you got the lock, we will print it. So after printing, it will wait it for the lock. So then suppose you got the lock. Okay, so here you got the lock, so it will come as a then some other value. Okay, so other than -1, so you will get as a successfully execution, that is a 0. Okay, so both are not same, so it will come out of this loop. So here you have to perform the operation on the file. Okay, so you acquired the lock already here. Okay, so now you can perform the some operation here. Okay, so that is nothing but we are saying as a lock file is okay. So now process data in the file. So whatever you want to do it, you can do it. So after that you have to unlock it. Okay, so for the unlock purpose, what we are doing is again in same structure we are filling the different values. Okay, so that is nothing but type we are saying as a, we are going to unlock it. Then from where, that is from the start of the file. Okay, so offset is 0, then length is 0, is nothing but we are saying as a entire file we are going to unlock it. Okay, so here again we are calling the fcntl. So here while calling this one, we are saying as a, you have to unlock it. Okay, so that's why we given here some parameter as it's a unlock one. Okay, so now file descriptor set lock w we are giving it. So here w is nothing but waiting it's nothing but we are calling the blocking call actually. Okay, so until and unless this unlocks, it will process will wait here only. Okay, so then this parameter we are passing it. So by seeing this is a set lock, in that what we are doing is actually unlock we are doing is, so here it will unlock it if it is successfully executed. So you are coming out of this one. If it is not successfully executed, we are printing the fcntl error, we are printing it. So this is how we'll use the fcntl call. So first time here for the locking purpose. So then here whoever acquired the lock, for that we are displaying it. Then here for the unlocking purpose we are using it. So all three, that is set lock, get lock, then set w. Okay, so this is nothing but here this w is nothing but waiting uh, in a blocking call. Okay, so that we are using it, all three types of commands we are using it. So next topic here we are going for a directory file APIs. Okay, so why we require directories are nothing but it will help user to organize their files in some structured way. Okay, so we require them as a directories. Okay, so uh, they are also used by the some operating system to convert the file name to the inode number. Okay, so directory file always will be having the you will normal file name will be there, and corresponding inode number will be there. Okay, then so how to create the directory files. Okay, so mkdir, this is the function we have to create the directory file. So you will give the path name, then mode. Okay, so this mode may be here owner or group or some other others, how they can access it. For that you will give the some permissions. Okay, so that will be there. Okay, so then here there are two kinds of actually for creating a directory. Okay, so mkdir, this is the one normally maximum users will use it. Along with that you can use the mk node also. Okay, so there also it will create the mk node also, there it will create the directory. But so difference between these two is mkdir always it will create the directory with two files. Okay, so whenever you are creating, by default two files will be there, that is a dot and dot dot. So current file and parent file representation. Okay, so for the representing this for the linking purpose from the current directory and previous there is a parent directory. For that purpose you will be having the two files normally. Okay, so but whenever you are creating a mk node, these two will not be there. Okay, so these two things will not be there. So by default mk dir only will be having these two files. Okay, then newly created directories has its user id set into the effective group id. Okay, effective user id of the process that creates it. So directory user id will be set to the either the effective user id, user group id of the calling process, or the group id of the parent process. Okay, so whichever parent is has, for that it will set it. Okay, so other than this, what are the different functions we can use on the directory are, that is open directory, you can use it, then read. Okay, so then close, then rewind. Okay, so other than these, you can have the rmdir. Okay, so it's nothing but remove. So now one by one we'll see it here. Open directory. Okay, so it will return the directory pointer. Okay, so here open dir. So whatever path is there, that path will give, for that path it will give the directory. So whichever directory you are opening it. Then read directory is nothing but whatever here you got the return value, that is like file descriptor you used to get it. So here it's the directory. Okay, this is also a directory related file descriptor only. Okay, that will pass it, then you can use this one for the read directory. Okay, so in this whatever file names and inode numbers are there, that you can read it. Okay, so otherwise some whatever content is there in that one, that also you can go through it by giving the some buffer kind of things. Okay, then here close directory, whatever directory is open, that we can close it. So what it will do is connection between the that file descriptor and handler, it will close it. Okay, so whatever will be there, that connection will close it. Then rewind directory, this is nothing but reset the pointer. Okay, so whichever by default whenever you are opening it, it will be always pointing to the first byte. Okay, so instead of that you can set it somewhere. Okay, or by default if it is there somewhere, now you want to set it to the back to the first byte only. Okay, there's a zero byte onwards, it has to start it. So for that rewind directory we'll use it. Then remove directory, what remove directory will do is, so whatever in kernel will be maintaining the directory name and the corresponding inode number for that, that will be removed. That entire directory will be removed, and corresponding inside that file name and inode numbers are also be disclosed. There is nothing but completely it will be removed from the memory. Okay, so for this purpose you will use the rmdir. So here you will be passing the file name, then return status it will give it. So along with this one, you can use unlink also. That is, super user permissions are there. Okay, so that time only you can use the unlink API for the directories. Okay, otherwise you can't use it. So unlink you can use for a normal files as a normal user. If you have a super user permissions, then only you can use the unlink or link on the directories. So other than this, you have two more page, that is tell dir. There is nothing but file pointer where it is pointing now. Okay, so it's return the file pointer of a given dir, so where it is pointing now. Okay, then seek dir. This is nothing but if you want to change the specific address. Okay, so for that purpose, file pointer wherever it is pointing. Above that, something you want to, there is nothing but again you have the set current or from the end of the file. Okay, so then from there you can use as a seek whatever function was there in a file. So like that here you can for use for the directories. Then device file APIs. Okay, so this is one more kind of files. So here device files are used for the interacting between the physical devices. Okay, so there may be some console is there or modem is there. Okay, so or any keyboard kind of things or any memory, external memory is there. For that, anything if you want to use it, so normally you will be using the device files. So here already we studied about this one. Device files will be having the two types, that is character based or block based. Okay, so here only difference between the device files and the regular files are the way in which devices are created. Okay, so while creating this will be different APIs will be there and corresponding to the regular one. Okay, then and here in device files normally will not use a lseek. Okay, there's nothing but so wherever you want to point it, those things you can't use it if it is a character device file. Okay, so character device file is nothing but one at a time character you are referring it. Okay, so those things you can't do on a device files of a character device files. Okay, so if it is a block device file, inside that block again you can use the lseek. That is not a problem. Okay, then how to create a device files is nothing but mk node will use it. So this will create the device files. Then here we are giving the path name, then mode, so there's nothing but permissions will be there. Okay, along with this one you will be having the device id. Okay, so this device id contains, it normally has the 2 bytes or 4 bytes. Okay, so lower byte will be always will be having the minor number, and higher number of bytes represents here as the major number. Okay, so they are a minor and major number both together you will be having the device id. Okay, so then here this both together you will be having the device id. So depending on this major number, that device will identify the actual device driver. Okay, and for that device driver whatever you want to send the parameter, that is the minor number. Okay, so that minor number will be sent to the that corresponding device driver. Then actual read and write operations will be happened by that device driver only. Then, when a process reads from or write it into a device, the file's major device number is used to locate the and invoke the device driver. Okay, this is what we discussed. Device driver function. Whenever depending on the major number, you will be getting the actual device driver function. Okay, then actual data will be transmitted. Okay, so then minor number will be used as a argument. That argument is nothing but so what all kind of things you want to pass it. Suppose you have as a printer, in that n number of printers you can connect it depending on the minor number to which device you want to talk, that will be there. Okay, so you have n number of printers are there, so in that which printer you want to talk it, so that will be there inside a minor number. Okay, so major number is nothing but, so there is a printer like that. Okay, or different device number is nothing but different major number will be there for a uart. Okay, or rs422, so like that will be there for a different things. Okay, so these device files may be removed via unlink API. So, okay, so you can, if you are unlink it, so by default, if no one is there to link that one, so automatically it will be removed from the our kernel. Okay, so and if no C TTY flag is set to the open call. Whenever you are going the open call, so that time this flag, if you are setting it, the what kernel will not set the character device file opened as a controlling the terminal. Okay, so kernel will not set as a opened file as a controlling the terminal in the okay. And you can give as a non-block. Okay, so if non-block flag is specified with the open call, okay, so whenever you are calling this one as a make dir, so along with this one here, if you are passing as a non-blocking, so at that time open call or any subsequent read and write calls of the device should be non-blocking to the processor. So depending on whatever you given, so it will be blocking or non-blocking one. Okay, so if you are given as a non-blocking, so for the device file, so it will be a normally call will be a non-blocking one only. So whichever flag will set it, depending on that it will happen. Okay, then FIFO. Okay, so normally FIFO also is considered as a one kind of different devices only. Okay, but here is nothing but within a system you will be using it. So there's nothing but interprocess communication we will be using it. So it's not a physical any device we will connect. So here one process will be connecting to the other process. Okay, so here for the interprocess communication, normally we have the FIFO. So you can create this FIFO by using MK node also or MK FIFO. Okay, so you can create it by both the ways, MK node or MK FIFO. So you can create in both the ways. These are also known as FIFO is known as named files. Okay, so one more kind of name is nothing but here, and this is a named files. Okay, so data written in FIFO are stored in a fixed size buffer. So whenever you are creating it, so kernel will give you some kind of buffer. In that buffer only always it will be keeping. Okay, then retrieve whatever we have, there is nothing but first in first out, it will read it. Okay, so this is what function will be calling for creating the FIFO, MK FIFO. So here file name will be there, then mode, so who all can access it, that permissions will be there. Okay, so when a process opens a FIFO, okay, so normally whenever we are opening a FIFO, then FIFO file for read only. Okay, so the process has a read only, that kernel will block the process until and unless another process should open the same FIFO for a writing purpose. So it means until and unless someone writes, you can't read it from the FIFO. Okay, so whoever is opened in a read mode, that will be blocking one. Okay, and same is the reverse one also. If some process opens in a write mode, until and unless okay another process opens in a read mode, this will be a blocking call. Okay, so normally both sides will be blocking. So there should be two processes who they are using the FIFO. Otherwise another process, if it is just is created but you are one more process is not using that one, means it will be a blocking call only. Okay, so this is why by making this one as a blocking call, so normally synchronization will happen. Okay, so here, so synchronization between two process will happen by this is a FIFO only, this by giving the this is a blocking calls only. Okay, if a process writes a FIFO and that is a full, okay, the process will block until another process has read in data from the FIFO. Okay, so if it is a full, then another process until and unless it reads, so whichever process is writing, it has to be blocked one. Okay, then if a process attempts to read the data from the empty FIFO, so in FIFO we don't have anything, so a process is trying to read it, then that process will be blocked until and unless another process writes inside that. Okay, so again it will be a blocking call. By this one only you are making as a synchronization. Okay, if process does not desire to be a blocked one, okay, so sometimes the intention will be there for the processor that they should not block themselves. Okay, so they have to specify as a non-blocking flag. Okay, so whenever you are opening the FIFO, so that time you have to give this flag as a, it should not be a blocking one, or by default it will be there as a blocking one only. Okay, then Unix system 5 defines there is a no delay flag. Okay, so the no delay flag is there in the Unix system file. Okay, this is almost similar as that of non-blocking one. Okay, so whatever we told as here as a non-blocking one, same thing. But here with respect to Unix system file, they are given as this is a different flag. Okay, so in case of this one, so whenever you are trying to read after that or write it, so that time it's a non-blocking one, read or write. Okay, so that time instead of actually it's returning as a -1, normally they read and write will return a zero value. Okay, so if it is not a blocking one, so and it's you are not getting the actual data or you are not able to write it immediately, so you will get the as a zero only. Okay, and if the process writes to a FIFO file that has no other processes attached, okay, that is nothing but no one is reading it but process is trying to write it, okay, in a FIFO, then kernel what it will do is sigpip signal it will generate it and it will send. That is nothing but illegal operation you are trying to do it. Okay, so like that it will send to the process. Okay, so kernel will send this one. So related to this signals we'll be having the new model only, so that will shred it again. If two processes are to communicate via FIFO file, it is important that the right process closes its file descriptor when it is done. Okay, there's nothing but communication is happening. So whenever you are done with the process, so you have to close that file descriptor so that reader process can also see the end of the condition. There's nothing but the reader will think as a there's nothing data will come in that FIFO, no one will write it, so it has to close automatically. Okay, so there is a from the user point of view you will be having the one API, so there is a pipe. Okay, so here you can call the file descriptor. So okay, fd0 fd1 will be there. Okay, two file descriptors. So this the first one is for the normally we will be having for the reading one, second will be having the for the writing one. Okay, so same FIFO you can create the two file descriptor, one is for the reading purpose, one is for the writing purpose, and you can read or write it, and corresponding FTs if you are not using it in that process you can close it. Okay, so this in detail we will again study in interprocess communication model. Okay, this is what we discussed. FT0 this will be there for the reading purpose, FT1 will be there for writing purpose. Okay, and one more thing is here, if a child process inherits the FIFO file from the parents, and then can become just nothing but if uh, a process creates a child. Okay, so normally FIFOs will be inherited. Okay, so we studied as a file logs will not be inherited. Okay, but file FDs whatever we created that will be inherited. Okay, so here for a FIFO it will inherit it. So then you can communicate to the between both the process, that is a parent and child process, by using this FIFO. So, next one, the symbolic link file APIs. So these were developed to overcome several shortcomings of hard links. Okay, so with hard links, some problems we had. For to overcome that one, we went for this is symbolic link files. Okay, so symbolic link can link from across the file systems. Okay, in hard link it's not allowed. Inside a file system only you can give the links. Okay, but in symbolic link you can give from the one file system to another file system also. Okay, and symbolic links can be created for a directory also. Symbolic links always refer the latest version of the file to which they link. Okay, so whichever you are linking it, so for that only it will be latest version of the file, it will take it completely. Okay, so hard links can be broken by the removal of one or more links. Okay, so if hard link is one or two links, if one file is here. Okay, so and if you remove those links, so automatically that file content will not be useful. Okay, so if hard link becomes a zero, so there is nothing but removal of that file only. Okay, so this thing will not be there with respect to symbolic link. Okay, okay, so to use the symbolic links. Okay, so we have different functions. So, okay, so here these are the APIs. So SYM link, this is a symbolic link you are going to create it. Okay, so this is the original file, this is the symbolic link you are going to create it. Okay, so two things you will pass it. Okay, so here original file link, then symbolic link whatever you are creating it. Okay, then read link. So here, whichever symbolic link you have, from there you are going to read it content. Okay, so this is the buffer. In this buffer you will read it. Then what is the size of that buffer, you can pass it. So how many bytes you want to read it. Okay, then lstat. So we stated as a stat, there is nothing but uh, file attributes, you can access it. Okay, so file attributes, so whatever are there, that we can access from the stat function. So to access symbolic links, so we have as a lstat. Okay. Okay, so same thing, whatever we studied, these are the points we have here. Okay, so this completes your second module.